broke out, actually, but the bubble burst. Yeah. Now we're going to have a change to a certain degree, and yet how much that would really mean for the industry is still uncertain, and yet there are about 4,400 electric car companies now already running around in the world. Are we talking about the possibility of a lot of waste in the future if this dream once again failed? Wayne.
Well, I think, what we need to consider, the biggest issue for the future of electric vehicles or the future of, gasoline traditional vehicles is the price of petroleum. And I think the rush into, whether from the government, from the industry, from consumers, trying to develop electric vehicles is really, to a certain large degree, because of the rise of gasoline prices
to provide an alternative.
Right. And I think down the road, to answer all of the questions, whether we're going to see sooner the arrival of electric vehicles on the road or later, the biggest issue is the gasoline price. I don't believe it's going to drop, let's say to 80 cents, 90 cents when I first went to the U.S. in the 1980s.
Right.
But is it going to go up to $5 a gallon? We don't know. So that's a big issue that I see that's going to determine how fast are we arriving to the, let's say, the era of electric vehicles.
Having said that, there's another challenge we haven't talked about, which is the subsidy from the government. Now it's a pro factor. $60 million by governments around the world already being put or willing to be put into this sector as a result of financial crisis, as a result of economic stimulus package. But we know this crisis is going to go on, maybe in 1 year or two. So after that, are the governments still going to be very enthusiastic about pumping money into electric cars? And you are talking about at least 5 years from now for some more matured skills and technologies for electric car development. So there seems to be a huge difference of time. Once again, much hope or not if we depend on the government subsidy, Mr. Wei?
Yeah, I think the government subsidy is very important. Again, the same issue about cost. How do you attract individual consumers to go drive an electric vehicle if it costs twice as much as a traditional one? So definitely, I think there's this necessity that's recognized not only by Chinese government, but by government in the U.S., government in Europe. So as a way to try to move away from fossil energy, I think it makes sense for the governments to try to encourage and support, the development of electric vehicles. But it's interesting, most recently, Mr. Miao Wei, Vice Minister, Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, made a comment that says, yes, it's important for the government to give subsidies to electric vehicle manufacturers, but don't try to rely or depend on government subsidy. The key will be how you, as an enterprise, start reducing cost, increase volume, to the point that you're going to make an affordable vehicle. So from a long term, it depends on manufacturers to try to improve on technology, reduce costs, and make it affordable to consumers.
But given the habits that we all have, we are lazy. We want to depend on the government. We want to depend on the money from somebody else. Is the industry really right now on the track, thinking or even doing some of the steps that Mr. Shane has been talking about to be more self-motivated at all? Mr. Link?
I believe so, and I think it's reflected in the products that we're starting to see come out in the pipeline. So, but the issue still is that of cost. As Wayne points out, it's a cost of the fuel. And we did a survey of over 1,000 American drivers just recently. And we found that fuel, amongst 90% plus of the respondents, was the key issue that would motivate them, fuel cost, that would motivate them to purchase an electric vehicle versus a traditional gasoline-powered engine. And so to help them, actually, I hate to use a phrase, but to jumpstart the growth of electric vehicles, I do think government has a role, and in fact,